Reporter John reporting live from Dallas, Texas, and today we have live footage of what Soul Body Metal will refer to as a lame. All right, this brother here looks like a lame. So hey man, what's your name?
Yes, my name is Lazy McGrind Never.
So what is it that won't allow you to get out of your current position?
I really don't think that my current position is a real thing, and that's all some shit that people make up to pretend that they're better than other people. There is no potential within me or anyone else, and no underlying motivation to be better. There's no reason to believe that.
Okay, so what about all the triumphant and successful people that might even be in your family or just people you might look up to?
Those people I believe do exist, and I appreciate those things they've done, but when they tell me their stories, they all seem to involve some form of challenge or obstacle. I don't like challenges and obstacles. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Soul Body Meta, and as you know, I never lack when it comes to bringing you those facts. I wanted to talk to y'all today about what I consider and what I found in research to be the underlying keys to motivation. The underlying keys to motivating yourself to get whatever goal you wanted. What prompted me to want to speak about this topic? I was randomly contemplating one day, in the shower I think, about my challenge that I went through as a basketball player at Oklahoma State University. I remember initially it was very chaotic. My mind was all over the place. I was kind of facing some of the karma of having to deal with everyone telling me you should focus more on school. You should not just focus on being good at basketball. Life is more than that. And when I got to college, it kind of forced me to look at those things. And I remember coming to a place after my freshman year. I love Coach Sean Sutton. If you happen to see this, how you doing? But he had to part ways and go elsewhere, and we got Coach Travis Ford. And he came in with that's my man too. What up, Coach Ford? He came in with kind of this stern, militant mindset. And he pulled me to the side in the midst of all my chaos and let me know, we don't need you. We don't need you here. You don't even play. You don't get any playing time. We like you when you have talent, but your contributions here are minimal. So we're doing you a favor by allowing you to be here. Kick it into gear. Now, when I had this conversation with him, I remember crying in his office. I mean, bawling in tears. And from that moment forward, that became now the reason why people will even let Marshall Moses talk to them today, because of all the things I've done with basketball. So what was it that kicked me into gear in that moment? I had heard speeches like that before. I had heard things like that before. And I thought about it and contemplated in that long, ridiculous shower that my wife was mad at me for because she had no hot water when it was her turn to shower. And I came up with three main keys. I think three main underlying keys to motivation. I'm going to tell you what those keys are and why right now. Key underlying factor number one, having a clear and distinct detailed, notice I put emphasis on detail, vision of what it is you want to accomplish. Back to another story that happened in my life. I went through a very, very life-altering and mind-altering injury. I just told you that I wouldn't even listen to people trying to give me sound advice in my past time in my adolescent years. So for basketball to be in detriment, to never be a part of my life again, in my mind was my life being in detriment to never being a part of my life again, if that makes any sense. So why am I telling you this? I remember during that time period having to use a walker because I couldn't walk, and I had to use the restroom. I went to the restroom and I used my walker for assistance as I lean up on it to do what it is we do as we use the restroom, right? And I did that, and I went back to my room and checked my phone, and I seen an email from my brother and all the way out in Azerbaijan, in Baku, Azerbaijan. And it was an invitation to compete in the 2015 European Olympics. It was the first one ever. It was a chance for me to break history and do so many things, even as an American citizen and things like that. And I looked at this email, not able to walk, not able to really cook my food, at least not without feeling sad or crying about it and feeling sad and being sentimental every time I have to do normal things that I took advantage of every day. And I sent the email back with the most sincerity in my heart that I wanted to take the job. So to put all of that in a package so you can see what I mean, I took a job that required me to compete at an Olympic level while I couldn't walk and had no idea when I would be able to walk again. Why is that important? What helped me say yes? It's that detailed vision. When I said yes, I was skeptical on it, right? But then I got online. I Googled images of Baku. I reached out to people I knew that may have heard of it. I wanted to learn the history of certain things about it. I didn't think that was important at the time, but now after defined research and study, I realized it was very important. I was constructing a vision in my mind of where I was going and what I wanted to accomplish when I got there. That, I believe, is having a vision of where you want to go is a very important key to being motivated. If you don't know where you're going, you may have a car and all of the gas in the tank that you needed to travel around the world. With no destination, all you have is potential. Step number 2. This step is very vital and very controversial, and it is realizing your God-given extraordinary ability to tap into your potential to affect and impact your immediate situation, aka realizing your human potential. Why did I act so dramatically just now? Some older types, please don't feel offended, and some religious folks that I know I've encountered and studied about cringe when they hear about human potential. Why? In the 1960s spring a movement that had a very, very long-lasting, lingering effect on what we like to think of as the 1970s called the human potential movement. Why is this so vital? The human potential movement was classified as pseudo, magic, everything in that category to not pay attention to. Why? It's because it was a science on how to tap into your potential to affect your immediate situation and be extraordinary, and in some cases, in extreme cases, superhuman. There was no evidence to back this up, but at the same time, in the 1960s, what is known or referred to as the human potential movement by a lot is referred to as a rebellion, a counter-rebellion against religion, social systems, and mainstream or commonly known psychology. I myself, in studying the movement, became skeptical, very skeptical actually, on the abuse of the knowledge, or what some could consider to be debated as knowledge, about the topic. But I also noticed in my research of this and many other things that all knowledges of anything that has any kind of power over the mind state or people has been abused by someone who understood the knowledge and understood that others did not. So I did not use the evidence used to refute the movement of the 1960s as evidence that it didn't exist, but just as evidence that it was misused. After doing so, I realized that I have no reason to not believe in deep underlying potential within human beings, as long as they're in alignment with life itself. Knowing this, I immediately got proactive in my situation. Instead of waiting for some mystical future, which I say mystical because the future is really only now, just continued, I started always thinking about what it is I could do in every single present moment, which would eventually become my future. My now became my future, and my mind state is what I'm trying to say. And I also realized that by not believing in human potential, because of someone who may have abused it or some institute or things out there that maybe go too far left, by not believing in my abilities as a human being, as what I consider to be a divine being on this earth. And no, I'm not the only one. As a matter of fact, I think I'm lesser. That's why I'm teaching right now to those out there who I think have the potential to impact the world. By lesser, I'm just one. If everybody believes in their ability, then it's powerful. By not believing in that, I was hindering my ability to do all of the things that I didn't believe I could do. When you do something, people always just say they knew you could do it. They knew I would be a pro basketball player, but I remember the same people that laughed at me and thought I was trying to only follow in the footsteps of my father and my older brother, which they were right. Shout out to y'all, because they're amazing and they're legends in the city they came from. But I took what they taught me and manifested it into something else because I believed. I didn't even know I believed or how motivation worked, but it worked for me. And in multiple instances, I could tell you, but it's not about me, it's about you. You have this power. Don't let Google or some other kook from back in the day who took knowledge and abused the ignorant deter you from believing in yourself. The ancient Egyptians, who we all know, have heard about, or maybe even studied, have done things that exceed human understanding of what we can do and what we're capable of. Has caused people to come up with all kind of conspiracy theories and strange things that also are mystically made up, if we want to speak that way on how they did something that we have no clue on how they did. What we do know is that they were human beings. So how are they able to accomplish this? I don't want to dismiss it with logic, and I don't want to throw it away. They think it's not important, made up, or a construct of blind faith, sympathetic magic I've heard it referred to. The thing about that is, essentially, or at a fundamental level, blind faith is what we're all doing in a way, going through everyday life with our own philosophies that we understand through believing. For instance, an atheist may believe, I have atheist friends, this is not a shot, but I'm here to deliver the knowledge. An atheist may believe there is no God. I can talk to them about that. Why can I talk to them about that and not get offended? For one, I know we both know. When I use the word faith, I revoke knowledge. For two, I also understand that by believing there's no God, you're also exercising faith. So you can't use all of these logical terms to refute my point unless you can objectively prove those points. If at the bottom of those points is also faith, we're just two sides of the same coin. Lastly, the most important, or what I've deemed the most important underlying key factor to motivation, is one of the most common, most important questions in history. Children ask it all the time, and when we don't have an answer for it, we often philosophize. No matter how scientific or logical we may be, we turn into philosophers at home when we can't answer this one question. Why? When you realize the potential within inside of you, where are you directing it, and why do you want to place it there? I'll go into an example of what we were just talking about and why I even believe that we have potential inside of us. If you look at the nature of physics and metaphysics, they seem to completely contrast each other. Yet throughout time, with psychology being one of the mainstream controversial examples I could use, there has always been something that was considered metaphysical and pseudoscience that over time, research, study, and things evolving, now is considered science or physics. It's taught, people make money doing it, but 100, 200, 300, 1,000 years ago, it was considered a mess, or vice versa. Something a long time ago was considered very important. It was considered not only not metaphysical or esoteric, but common knowledge and actual sciences. And as things advance, we call those people idiots who won't follow the advancement. So if something has the potential to become, as far as knowledge goes, metaphysical to physical or from physical to metaphysical, then the understandings of metaphysical are only credited to the people who lack faith. My best example for this, or should I say the best example I could give you that was already created, is the wonderful book and the story, The Little Engine That Could. It just seems that if you believe in any higher forces, power, or God, that the way that higher entity set it up was that if you genuinely in your heart deeply think you can, you can. Ultimately, my point is, through research and study that I've found and believe that lack of motivation stems from not understanding the power within you and not knowing where to direct it. Not understanding where you're headed is just as important as not knowing your ability on how to get there. Soul, body, matter, y'all. Love you.